I came to Leeuwarden to visit the open day at NHLStenden.
Het is bijna zover.
You're going on a road trip.
Leeuwarden to visit the open day at NHLStenden.
Het is bijna zover.
You're going on a road trip. Destination unknown for now.
Let's go!
Usually very busy, but let's see how it goes today.
Ervaar de adrenaline die door je lijf heen giert.
To follow the cliché, there are no stupid questions.
Elke dag stellen we onszelf de vraag, wat eten we vandaag?
At all our locations, we work with design-based education.
I see the sign.
Sounds pretty amazing, right? Let's explore what this means.
En wat wij altijd heel belangrijk vinden is dat we in eerste instantie de vraag vanuit de praktijk.
Daarom doen wij onderzoek naar een nieuwe methode.
This educational concept lets our students handle assignments from actual companies.
Geniet van elkaar, wees lief voor elkaar en geniet vooral, dat is het belangrijkste.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar about studying at NHLStenden. I'm very pleased to see that there's a few of you in the audience already ready to listen to this webinar. But before going on any further, I would like to give a very brief introduction of myself and my colleague. So my name is Estelle and I'm currently in my fourth and final year of studies of International Hospitality Management at the NHLStenden campus, and I'm originally from France. And today I'm also accompanied by Nele. So Nele, if you want to join me and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Nele. I'm 24 years old already. I'm originally from Germany and I'm studying creative business in my third year now. Next to this, I'm working for the marketing and communications departments, and I'm happy to be here and to tell you more about NHLStenden today.
Yes, thank you so much. And besides Nele, we also have one of our colleagues, Gabby, in the chat, who's going to be there in case you do have any questions during the presentation or simply need more information. Feel free to just type your questions in, and she will be more than happy to help you. So, what can you expect today's presentation to be about, and how will it be structured? Well, we will be taking you on a journey to get to know what studying at NHLStenden is like by first telling you a bit more about the university, telling you a bit more about the Netherlands, the teaching method used, and also sharing with you a bit more information regarding the costs and housing options that are in the different campus cities. And we will finish off the presentation by telling you a bit more about some application information. So this presentation will really be a first impression of what studying at NHLStenden is all about. And if some of you have already applied to NHLStenden and are already ready and sure to be coming here for your studies, we also have some separate events such as pre-arrival webinars. So you can find the links to join those on our website to get maybe more specific information for your case. But if everyone is ready, I think that we can begin the presentation. So to start off, we have actually prepared a few facts and figures for you about what NHLStenden is all about. And as you can see, NHLStenden is actually an international university which has more than 90 different nationalities on campus. So if you choose to come here, you're not only going to be discovering the Netherlands and the Dutch culture, but you will be getting to meet and work with people coming from all parts of the world. And in addition to that, NHLStenden doesn't have actually just one campus in the Netherlands, but has multiple campuses in the Netherlands and also abroad. So for students studying the bachelor programs, you actually have the opportunity, if you would wish to do so, to do a part of your studies abroad. And then maybe a final fact would be that NHLStenden offers, of course, study programs at the bachelor level, but also at the associate degree and master's level. So there's definitely different kinds of programs for everyone. But now Nele will tell you a bit more about the university.
Thank you. So NHLStenden is a university of applied science with a focus on connecting and enterprising. So you work together with your group mates, but also with your coach and other teachers and staff from NHLStenden. As Estelle already mentioned, we are an international multi-campus university, so there you have a variety of international opportunities to go abroad. And as we already mentioned, there's a huge number of students and a diversity in nationalities, so you will make some international friends. We offer English taught courses in a wide range of fields, so normally there's a program for everyone. If you already know or made up your mind what you would like to study, feel free to type it in the chat so we know who's sitting in the audience today. And of course, we offer high quality and affordable education. This is also one of the 6 reasons why students want to study at NHLStenden. So why should you decide to study with us? We develop we help you to develop your own views and to become the manager that you would like to be. You will be studying in a supportive environment because your coaches and teachers will always be by your side and will help you to define your own learning path. You will work on practical and real life assignments together with external as well as internal clients, and you will practice and put your own innovative idea to the test, so that you directly use the theory that you learned and put it into practice. In addition, you will work together in small teams of students together with the lecturers, researchers, and professionals from the field. And by that, we ensure that you will get all the knowledge and qualities that you need to get a kickstart into your job afterwards. As we already mentioned, we do have some internal and external companies that we're working with. Here, I'm presenting the in-house companies that we have. I guess most of you have already seen on our homepage that we have the Stenden Hotel, which got newly renovated. So it's a very nice hotel, which you can also book if you want to stay in Leeuwarden for some days. I haven't been there. I just saw it from the outside, but it looks really nice. And we do have the in-campus restaurants and cafes. So if you're eager or willing to study hospitality management, you will work in these fields as well. We do have a conference and event center as well as an events company. And for all the media students, we do have a studio for media production as well as a room with all the MacBooks and Macs that you need, cameras, all the equipment, so that you can get started with your products or content projects that you would like to work on. This is all a bit theoretical, so we thought we will include a small video tour. That's a video tour of the campus site in Leeuwarden, so if you're planning on studying there, this is the tour you will see now. We also do have a link to the tour in Emmen. So for the ones who are interested in the Emmen campus site, you will also get a link and you can check out that. And I think the studio or the campus site tour for Meppel will follow within the next 1 or 2 weeks. So stay tuned about that. And now sit back, relax, and enjoy our little campus site.
Hello, my name's Sasha and I'm a 3rd year student studying International Hospitality Management at NHLStenden University. Today I'm here to give you your very own International Hospitality Management at NHLStenden University. Today I'm here to give you your very own private tour. Are you ready? Within the NHLStenden campus, there's also accommodation for international students. We're now in the food court. This is where students come to have breakfast, lunch or dinner. The menu changes every week and as you can see, there's a wide variety to choose from. This is the Learning Company, which is specifically for media and entertainment management students. Here they can make music, work on editing films and printing magazines. We're now in the study landscape. This is where students come to work as a group or on their individual assignments. As you can see, it's very busy and this is because exams are coming up. This is the library where students can use a wide variety of books and articles to help them study. They also have lots of study spaces, including these comfortable chairs. This is the auditorium, where up to 250 students can fit. The main lectures are given here, and we also have our graduation ceremony in this building. This is NHLStenden's theatre. Students can put on plays and local productions, as well as stand in the spotlight. I'm now going to show you Stenden Hotel, which is run by students. Come and follow me. NHLStenden places a huge emphasis on real-world learning, which means that the restaurant, bar and hotel is all run by students. We're now in Restaurant 1A, where guests can have a 6-course menu and a wine arrangement.
So this is our Stenden kitchen. The third years I'm managing everything and controlling the process. Second years I'm mostly leading the task, and the first years they have to work it out and produce everything.
So maybe you can tell us a bit about your favourite part of NHLStenden?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite parts, I think, about the university is that both buildings provide different environments where you can study in, and where you can either be by yourself or find yourself in this environment here, where you can also, be amongst other students.
I really like that a lot of studies have their own separate parts of the school, where they have their own business places and landscapes.
Well, this comes to the end of our tour. I hope I've informed you well and that you're tempted to come to NHLStenden.
This short video of the Leeuwarden campus, and also Gabby sent you the links to the other campus videos as well that we already have if you want to watch them after the presentation as well. But I'm sure that you remember that at the beginning of the presentation we mentioned that NHLStenden doesn't have just one campus, but actually has different campus sites for the English taught programs in the Netherlands, and those are the different locations you can see here on the map, so in Leeuwarden, Groningen, Emmen and Meppel. Now you might be wondering, why does NHLStenden have these different campuses? What is the difference? Well, basically NHLStenden offers different campus sites because on each of those different campus sites, different study programs are offered. So if you want to study hospitality management like myself, or you want to study creative business like Naylor, this is done in the Leeuwarden campus. But for those of you that want to study something like marketing or information technology, and I saw a few of you in the chat, well, this is done usually at the Emmen campus. So don't worry too much about which campus you will end up going to, because you're sure to have a wonderful time and to also be grouped with other people that have similar interests to your own. So now that we told you a bit about NHLStenden, it's time to tell you a bit more about the Netherlands. Now, I don't know if any of you have already been to the Netherlands, and if you have, feel free to let us know which city and what you thought about your experience there. But for those of you who have never been here before, here are a few pictures of things that the Netherlands is known for. It's known for having beautiful tulip fields in the spring. It's known for having a lot of bikes, and also for these delicious caramel waffles that you can see on the bottom side that I would definitely recommend you all try when you do arrive. Now, there's also a few facts about the country on this slide, and most of you probably already know and have already seen it on the map. The Netherlands is actually a very small country. It's actually 14 times smaller than France, where I'm originally from. But one of the advantages of living in such a small country is that you can easily get from one place to another by train or by car, and you can even get from the very north of the Netherlands to the very south in around 3 hours. So if you are someone that likes traveling or seeing new cities, then you will definitely have the possibility to do so during your studies. Now, something else that the Netherlands is known for is for being a big economy for its import and export activities. There's a lot of interesting businesses in the country, so there's also a lot of interesting internship possibilities or job possibilities after graduation as well. And a fact about the Dutch people is that they're actually stereotyped for being very direct and for telling you things as they are, which can be a bit surprising when you're not used to it. But in my own experience living in the Netherlands, I also found that Dutch people are very nice and very much willing to help you. And to give you an example, when I first arrived, I had never been in the country before, and I got a bit lost in the city when I was visiting, and so I asked a few people on the street for help, and everyone was more than happy to give me directions. But in France, if I had asked some people for directions, I'm not sure that I would have been able to get the same quality of help. Now, many of you also might be wondering, if you do come to the Netherlands, do you need to know Dutch? Like, how is it going to be? Actually, something that's quite good to know as well is that the Netherlands scores very high for English proficiency. So if you are planning to come to study here, you do not need to know Dutch in order to get by, whether it be at the supermarket, to join a sports club. If you speak English, you will be able to find other people that speak English. Of course, if you are interested to learn Dutch, you are more than welcome to do so in your own free time, but there's no obligation. So, now that we told you a bit more about the Netherlands, it's time to think about why you should come study in the Netherlands. Because you're going to not only be there for 1 year, but maybe 3, 4, 5, depending on the duration of the studies that you choose. So there's a lot of different reasons why people do choose to come to the Netherlands, but to try to make this presentation a bit more personal, I will start by sharing the reasons why I chose to study here. So in my final year of high school in France, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do later on at the time, but I could really see myself having an international career. I was also very creative and I just wanted to try a different educational system than the one I already knew, so I started looking for international schools around the world, and I came across NHLStenden a bit randomly, but right away when I found the website, I was immediately attracted. They offered a lot of different study programs that were interesting, but of course I chose the one of hospitality management, and I really liked the educational system that really seemed to encourage creativity and the international aspect. So since the university checked all the boxes for me, this is why I chose to come here. And I'm also going to invite Nele to come share a bit about her experience and why she chose to come to the Netherlands.
It takes always some time to activate the camera. But yeah, I decided to study in the Netherlands because it's quite close to my hometown, and I always liked the Netherlands. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to study there, because I wanted to live in such a nice country. And in addition, I really like the program of creative business because you have the management aspects as well as the media relation, and you don't really have those opportunities in Germany, at least not at normal universities, only at private ones, and that's not really affordable. So that's why I love to study at NHLStenden, and I just visited a couple of campus sites of other universities as well. And as soon as I entered the building of NHLStenden, I was quite sure that I want to study here. So that was basically already it.
So as you can see from Nele and my experience, people do choose to come to the Netherlands, and in particular NHLStenden, for different reasons. But in general, the international aspect, the cozy atmosphere of the campus, the quality of education are definitely common reasons that attract our students. And also the unique educational concept that Nele will tell you a bit more about in the next slide.
Yes, let's get started. So I don't know if you heard about design-based education already, but that's the education system that we're using at NHLStenden. Design-based education basically means that you will go through all those different stages that you can now see on the slide. So normally you will start to empathize with a problem that the coach, a client, you never know, the university comes up with, so that you can work on that. So it could be that an external company approaches the study program that you're doing, and that they have a problem and need a solution basically. And so you will try to emphasize with the problem, and after that you can already kind of define what you will be working on and in which direction you're going. You will brainstorm and come up with ideas and develop a prototype which will be tested in the end. That's basically the whole process, and you will be guided by your coach, so you're not alone. And normally you work in interdisciplinary and intercultural small groups, so often you function as a small company or startup, and in the end you will pitch your ideas that you have developed. Design-based education focuses on new trends and technology, so it's a very flexible and up-to-date process. So you will work on real-life assignments from now, so not from the 1950s, but problems that occur now in our economy or society. you will combine education and experience. That's what I already mentioned. So you will learn the theory by directly applying and using it. This will all happen in cooperation with the industry, and you are able to choose your own learning path because you can design it by on your own. This is all very theoretical, so that's why I brought an example from my study program. Here you can see some visuals from the Marketing 2 module, which I did last year before the summer. For that, we worked together with the client Welcome to the Village. That's a local festival from the northern Netherlands, and they for now had a very Dutch target audience. So they do had a lot of visitors, but they were mainly from the Netherlands, and they thought it would be nice to broaden that target audience and to attract more people and to become more international. And that's why they approached the Creative Business program, because they thought it would be quite a nice assignment for creative business students to analyze their current marketing strategy and then come up with a new one. So that's what we kind of did. We start to get to know the client, and we analyzed how they're now targeting their customers and where they have certain touch points. We did a lot of research that was basically desk research as well as field research. So we interviewed a lot of internationals and talked to them why they would consider to go to a festival, so what's attractive for them. And with all those information, we finally came up with a new marketing concept for the client. So we had a completely new customer journey. That's how it's called, and we also developed a landing page, a social media campaign. So it's always very creative focused. So that's what I liked about those studies. And in the end, we pitched it to the client, and the best solutions also got invited to come to the next festival edition. So that's quite nice. And I hope that kind of explains the DBE system a bit more. If you have questions about it, feel free to ask. That's a very specific assignment, or example for creative business. I do know that other business courses, for example, international business or hospitality, also do have marketing modules. But in case you want to know more about your study program, we also do offer the Study Dive. That's an online event on the 11th of June, so on a Friday, and there we will have different project sessions where you can join your study program and see what they are doing within the studies and how the different assignments and projects look like. So if you're curious about that, feel free to join us there. And now I'm going to talk a bit about the international opportunities that you will have after you finished your studies in the Netherlands. So within your study program, you have the opportunity to choose a specialization, a so-called minor. So you can kind of broaden your horizon or look into one specific field that you would like to focus on. And therefore, you have the opportunity to do an exchange or grand tour. Maybe it helps if I show you this little world map. So the red countries are campus sites of NHLStenden. Those are the grand tour projects. So when you decide, for example, you want to study one semester in South Africa, you can choose 2 different minors, for example, and you will still be enrolled at NHLStenden, and you will still study at an NHLStenden campus site, just in a different country. So it's a kind of a ready-to-go package for you to go abroad, because you just need to book the flights, and then you will have the accommodation organized by NHLStenden as well as all the study programs and all that stuff. So you will know the education system, because everything stays the same. So that's pretty easy and good to go. In addition, we do have the exchange program. Those are all the bluish countries that you can see here, because we do have a lot of partner universities around the world. And for exchange, you will go to a different university and also study something in your field of interest. So you can choose what you would like to focus on, but you will dive into a different university and their education program, and of course into their culture. Same goes for the internship. At the end of most of the bachelor programs, you will do your final internship, as Estelle is doing it right now. And for that, you are completely free where you want to do it. So the world is open for you. You just have to decide where you want to go. We also do have some small impressions from the campus sites of NHLStenden. This is the one in South Africa, where you can focus, for example, on wildlife management, as well as event management, as far as I know. Then we do have a campus site in Qatar, which is also quite nice. There's one in Bangkok, and Bali. Just as an example from my personal study life, I decided to focus on or to go on an exchange. So this is my final semester here in Leeuwarden, and after that I will study 1 semester in Copenhagen in Denmark and focus on communication and design. That's the specialization that I chose. So that's one of the examples, and I do have a lot of friends that want to study, for example, mindful leadership in Bali, which is quite nice. So there are a variety of opportunities, and normally sky's the limit, so there should be something for everyone. You can also find these minor opportunities on our website if you want to know about that. And after the graduation, so after your internship and after you finished your bachelor thesis, you will be ready to go to enter the job market. So you will be definitely competitive because you've learned all the skills and knowledge that you need to be a specialist within your field and an expert with all the theories that you need to apply. So we have a lot of nice stories from people who were able to directly dive into their dream job, which is quite nice. So you can definitely look forward to that. All this is, of course, always accompanied with some costs, and we will talk about the expenses in a second, and I will give the stage to Estelle.
To the less fun part of the presentation, of course, which is talking about the expenses. What can you expect the expenses to be when you choose to study abroad at NHLStenden? Well, the first main expense that you will encounter, of course, is the tuition fee expense. And you can see here a little bit of a summary of the tuition fee expense for our different study programs. So for all of the bachelor programs, it's around 2,000 euros per year and around 8,000 euros for non-European students. And then for the master program, the prices do vary per different program, between 2,000 and around 11,000 euros. But if it is going to be your first year of studies in the Netherlands, you might be able to get a lower price on your first year of studies tuition fee. So I believe that my colleague Gabby will send you a bit more of the latest information we have regarding the tuition fees for your first year of study. So then you can save a little bit of money on your first year of course. So that's definitely an advantage for all of you right now. Now, besides the tuition fee expenses, there's also the living expenses in your personal life that you will encounter. So those include, of course, accommodation, and I will give you a few examples of different places you can look for accommodation in the next slide. But for the price you can expect, it really depends on what kind of accommodation you choose. If you live alone in the city center with roommates or not, the price will of course fluctuate, but with around 250 to 600 euros per month, you can definitely find a good house option with all inclusive. I know for myself in my first year, I paid maybe closer to 450 euros per month, but then in my second, third, and fourth year of study, I paid around 360 euros per month. So it really depends on what kind of housing option you choose. Now, the next expense you might expect is for food. And again, this really depends on your own habits. If you eat out a lot or if you just eat sandwiches every day, of course, the price will not be the same. But with between 250 euros and 300 euros per month, then you can definitely get by and have enough to eat and also go out a few times. And actually, Nele has a very good tip usually for all of you if you want to save a bit of money on food. So if you want to join me again to share this advice with them.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a very Dutch thing, but we do have some markets in Germany as well. But I can highly recommend to go to the weekly market in the student city that you will be living in. I just know for Leeuwarden, the weekly market is always on a Friday. So there you have a variety of, stores, tables, places where you can buy food like vegetables, fruits, but also cheese, bread, nuts, all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very cheap in comparison to some of the supermarkets. So that's a good way to save some money.
Yes, I would definitely recommend it as well. So thanks for this tip. And then besides that, some of you also might need to pay for a medical insurance depending on, your own situation. And that can be around 55 euros per year, depending on what kind of packaging option you choose as well. And then for all the non-European students, you also have a one-time payment for your visa for being able to come study abroad. So that's around 171 euros. And you will also be informed of it during your application procedure. Now, besides those living expenses, there's also a few extra curriculum expenses that you can also expect. So, for example, if you are going to be studying hospitality management, every year you're going to have the opportunity to work on the hotel on campus, but when you will be working in the hotel, you will need to wear the uniform of the hotel, and that's why you also need to buy a uniform set to have the uniform for the different departments you will work in, like kitchen or front office, for example. So that's around 700 euros, but it includes a lot and you will use it for all your years of study. And I know for myself, there's also some parts of the uniform that I bought that I still use to this day. For example, it included some knives for cooking, and I also use it when I'm cooking at home. So it is an investment, but you can also get a bit of return from it. And then for the other study programs like tourism, leisure, and international business, there's also a few field trips that are done usually during the first and second year. And those are very, very fun. And I would definitely recommend all of you to try and save a little bit of money to be able to join those field trips, because it's a great bonding experience with your classmates. And it also allows you to better understand the industry that you're studying. So now that you have a better idea maybe what kind of expenses to expect, you can start saving and start planning a little bit better for when you will be coming here. Now, I also promise that I will tell you a bit more about some housing options and where you can find housing if you are sure to be coming to the Netherlands. So one of the most common options is actually looking on Facebook groups. On Facebook groups, all the students that are finishing their studies, graduating, or going for internship, they usually post the room that they are leaving on those groups so that students that do arrive can then take it over from them. And since there's a lot of different students on the different cities, such as Leeuwarden and Emmen, there's pretty much always new students coming in and new students going out. So there's a lot of different housing options on those different groups. So I would definitely recommend having a look at those groups, because you can find a lot of different housings and also for a lot of different budgets. But if you do see something that you like on those groups, I would also recommend to react rather quickly, because there's a lot of different people looking as well. So that's just a little tip. If you do find something you like, then make sure you let the person who posted it know. Another way that you can also look for housing is going through agents, and here you see a few examples of names that you can use, but of course there's also different agents around the different cities. And the advantage of working with agents is that if you do have very specific criteria that you want for your house, for example, you want it to be unfurnished or in the city center, or with only one roommate, then you can tell the agents what your budget is and what criteria you want, and then they will do the research for different housing options for you depending on this criteria in exchange for a small fee. So this can save you a lot of time, of course, and then you will only be offered things that are related to what you are looking for. And last but not least, there's also an option I think a few of you talked about in the chat as well, which is going to the near campus housing locations such as Student Stay. So Student Stay is for international students, close to the campus, has great rooms with all the amenities that you would need. So if you are unable to come to the Netherlands to look for a house physically because you are living a bit far away, then I would definitely recommend considering Student Stay for your first year of studies. And the only thing that you do need to keep in mind is that if you do choose to come to Student Stay, the contracts are usually from 6 to 12 months. So after living there for around 1 year, then you will need to move out. But of course, it's much easier to look for a new house once you will be in the Netherlands physically to move your stuff as well. So these are all different options, and depending on your preferences and your budget, then I hope that it will be helpful to find the student house of your dreams. Now, we're getting close to the end of the presentation, where we will be talking a bit more about the application procedure information, and then Yoko will also assist me if you do have specific questions regarding application, but I think I will be able to answer many of your questions as well in the next upcoming slides. So if some of you are already convinced to come to NHLStenden and you are sure that you do want to study here, then how can you do it? Well, there's basically 5 steps that you need to follow to apply to NHLStenden, which are making sure that you meet the admission requirements, going to the StudyLink website to create your profile and choose which study program you want to apply to, and then uploading all of your documents on another website called the iGo portal so that they can be checked by the admissions office. And between all of the different steps, the admissions office, also called Central Student Administration, will make sure to guide you from one step to the next with all the information that you need. Now, before starting your application, of course, it's also important to know what the application deadlines are so that you can kind of plan and make sure to complete your application on time. So for the non-European students who are planning to apply in September, the deadlines are actually coming very soon because it's going to be 1st of June of 2021. But for the European students, it's going to be in August 2021. So you still have a bit of time, but definitely if you are interested to apply, the earlier you do it, the better it is going to be for you to do all the different steps smoothly without any stress. And for those of you who are interested in studying for February 2022, then the deadlines are going to be in November and then in January for the European students. Now, the February intake is only offered by some of the study programs, so definitely have a look at the website to see if the program you are interested in does have an intake in February or not, so that you can see if it will be a possibility for you as well. We also have here a slide that kind of reminds you what kind of study programs we offer. So, if Nele, you want to take it away?
Sure. So we already saw in the chat that we have quite a variety here today. But just to summarize, at day one, we do have business administration, creative business. That's what I'm doing. International business, international hotel management. That's where you will work in the hotel as well as in the restaurants and cafes. International leisure and events management and tourism management. In Maple, we offer the international teaching for primary schools. I saw some questions regarding ITIPS in the chat already. And we do offer the study programs International Business, International Hotel Management, Logistics, Information Technology, and Marketing in Emmen. And the International Teaching Education for Secondary School is located in Groningen. I can also show the slide for the masters. Those are only the 3 programs. I already saw some questions regarding if you can also ask study program specific questions. Feel free to do so, but we cannot guarantee that we can answer them properly because of course we focus on our study programs more than on the other ones. But if you ever visited our homepage, you can always see this little bubble popping up. There you can find the opportunity to talk to students from each different study program. So you can use the filter function and then you can find someone for ITIPS, for example, and those students have it on their mobiles. I do have it as well. So you can see my picture there and my profile, and if you want to chat about some topics or just have some questions, feel free to text me or the other students. We're always willing to help. Same goes for the master program, so feel free to do so. And I also already mentioned that we have other events coming up. So on the 11th of June, we offer the study dive. As I already mentioned, that's an event from students for students. So I'm one of the students who's organizing it, and we do include some project sessions. So within those sessions, you have the opportunity to dive into your study program. So students will show you actual projects that they worked on. You can have little discussions, games, meeting rounds. So it's all about connecting, making some friends, and also seeing what to expect. We offer some live tours throughout the building, some Q&As where you can just chat and have a coffee or lunch, and also a little mingle/speed dating. So it will be a lot of fun. And if you're eager to already meet some people and so that you already know some faces when you arrive in September or February, feel free to join. We're really happy to or looking forward to meeting you there. Same goes for the pre-arrival webinars in June. We have several dates where they are held. So we offer a webinar for each campus site. So when you're interested in A1, you can sign up for the one in A1. Same goes for Meppel and Groningen. So please check that out as well. There we have some tips and tricks, what you should take care of before you arrive in the Netherlands and start with your studies. I just saw one question about the student life that we should talk about that more. Maybe I'll just start and then Esther can dive in. I always had the feeling that I'm having a very good student life in the Netherlands because I always felt very safe, and I found it very easy that you can go everywhere by bike. And as well, of course, the nice campus site helps to learn and to work on your projects, and all that group work is just great to find some friends. Because I met a lot of international people and great people from all different study programs, which is quite nice. So I'm very well connected right now. And I'm really looking forward for my exchange as well, but it's also a tiny bit breaking my heart to leave Leeuwarden, because I really had a great time there. In the city, you can do a lot of different things. We have sports opportunities directly on campus, but also nature. You can go out and go to the lakes or the sea. You can go to the city center, where we do have all the shops that you need, I'd say, as well as pubs and bars and clubs. So fingers crossed that they will all open for the next study start again. And I do know that the organizers of the Study Start Week are already planning offline versions. So if you're starting in September, we will hopefully welcome you offline on campus so that we can have proper Study Start Week and you can all mingle, make friends, and get to know the city that you're studying in.
Yes, thank you so much everyone for listening. And I think, yeah, we will dive into your questions. And I think there was also one maybe that Naylor you can answer, because this year you were also studying online. So maybe you can say if you felt that it was different, but how would you describe the teacher-student relationship at Stenden in your experience?
In general, I'd say it's very good, because I started in February 2019. And I directly met my study coach in the first module that I had. So each of the students that starts up at NHLStenden will be guided by a so-called study coach. That's normally the coach you will have within your first module. And then he or she will be there to guide you through your whole studies. So if ever at any time a problem occurs or pops up, you can contact your study coach about it. If you have some private issues, he or she is there to talk about it, to solve your problems, to just find a good solution for you. And also when it comes to international opportunities or internship, he or she is there to guide you, to help you to find the right solutions for you. Maybe he or she has some contacts so that you can find a very nice internship. And that's just the experience that I had so far. Same goes for the teachers or lecturers that I had in the different modules. They are always available, as also in times of Corona when it's still online. In the last semester, I just sent a short message to my coach, and she always replied quite in time so that I could keep on working, which was quite nice. And the coaches or teachers are really there to help and not to, give you bad grades. It's about your learning process, and they want you to become the manager or professional that you really want to be, and that's why they are very supportive, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely, I don't think I have much to add, because I do agree, but you not only can ask them questions, outside of their working hours, but also during the classes, you're also encouraged to ask your questions. So I think you really feel supported by the teachers and also your classmates. So I think the relationship is quite nice as well. And I think there was also maybe a related question about if now you've been working from home or it's been on site, and maybe we can talk a bit about what we know a bit might happen next year. So,
so for now, since the beginning of 2021, I was working from home, so everything was online for me. But we also had a very free semester, so we worked really independently and didn't have a lot of lectures, because I'm in my third year now. So we have to be on the strategic level and basically do it on our own. But from September to the winter break, I was kind of in a hybrid system. So I had, I think, 2 classes offline, and the rest was online, which was quite handy in my opinion, because the big lectures were always recorded, so you could watch them whenever it works for you, and you can just go back and forth in case you didn't understand something. And just seeing your coach and your group mates offline is also very helpful, because that's just a nice way to work with a group. That was my my experience.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's been a little bit changing this year, because of course the situation with COVID was new for a lot of people. So it was sometimes online, sometimes on campus. But yeah, whenever there's a possibility to come on campus and to do it safely, then we always try to do so, of course. And for next year, with more people that have the opportunity to be vaccinated, we do expect But of course, this is subject to change to have 70% of classes on campus and then 30% online. But we always update Corona information whenever we do have any updates on the Corona Q&A page of the NHLStenden website. So if you want to read a bit more in depth about what it can look like next year, for now at least, then I would definitely recommend to have a look there, because it's very well explained and much more detailed probably than I could answer. So maybe Gabby can also add the link for you in the chat. Then we have a second question, if there's any extracurricular activities on campus. I think you are part of a club, Nele, right? Or are you...
Yeah, club is maybe a big word. I'm part of the Student Council Creative Business. So I worked for the event department there, and we organize a lot of campaigns, projects, and events for other students. So it's basically a council where you can apply to work with, and then you will get some credits for that as well, because you're doing something out of school but for school, kind of. And that was really nice because you get to meet a lot of people from the study courses above you or below you, so they started earlier or later, which is quite nice. So that was my free time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different kinds of student associations. I'll try to send you the link afterwards in the chat of a few that are on the NHLStenden campuses, especially some that are a bit more focused on events. Before COVID, there was also one that focused a bit on cooking. So there are a few, but of course, if you have your own idea, maybe you can also start your own association, and you can also join clubs in your free times. For example, for sports, if you have a specific sport you're interested in, next to campus, there's also a gym that organizes different kinds of sports activities, and there's also different locations across the city. So yeah, there are definitely things that you can do. I personally did not join a club during my studies, but I think that's something that I would recommend everyone to try to do. If you, in the beginning, maybe you want to make some more friends, definitely it's a fun thing to do.
I just skimmed through the questions. Do you know if we have a rugby team somewhere?
I think in the city there might be, but I'm not 100% sure, because rugby is not maybe the most popular sport in the Netherlands, unfortunately. But there's also sometimes in bigger cities or other cities rugby teams, and then you can also get like a train pass with a discount to travel. And if you really rugby is your passion, then once per week or something, you can also travel from one city to another to join a sports club. Yeah, that might be an alternative then for your case.
I just saw one German-related question. So Louisa is asking, how does moving to the Netherlands work? Do I need specific documents to travel there or for housing? So I will just answer this in general, because Corona-wise, I don't know the restrictions for the borders or how you have to fill out the forms that you are entering a country. But in general, you don't need specific documents to travel there. As soon as you found a housing or a place to stay, you will probably receive your rental contract. This is normally combined with you sending your ID or passport, because they need to know who you are. So you send those documents, and then they finalize the contract. You sign it, and that's for the moment all you need. As soon as you move to the Netherlands, try to make an appointment at the city hall. This goes for all international students. Normally, if we have a big study start, so for example, the September stream, the city hall also comes to the campus site so that you can register there. I don't know if it's happening this year because of Corona, but either way, you have to register at the city hall. For that, you always need your rental contract, your ID or passport, as well as your birth certificate. That should be an international version, because they also need to understand it. And then after registering, you will receive your BSN number. That's the number you need for most of the official stuff. So in case you want to get a bank account or an insurance for which reason ever, if you want to work, for example, then you need the BSN number so that you can get registered, as well as your health insurance, for example. So that's the golden number for everything. But I think that's kind of all you need to know traveling and housing wise. Do you have anything else in mind?
No, I don't think I have anything else. And also, when you do find a house that you like, you can also ask them if there's any specific documents that they need for that specific housing place. Maybe some housing agencies ask for additional documents, but otherwise, I think that was rather complete. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a technical issue on my side, and I don't see the questions anymore. So maybe Nele, you can just let me know if there's something else.
Do you know much about scholarships? Because I just know the German stuff, so that's maybe not handy.
For European students at the moment from NHLStenden, there's not a scholarship. It's for international students, but there's some websites, I think like studiesportal.com or Grant Finder, that sometimes give scholarships to European students when they do choose to go abroad. And there's also sometimes scholarships in your own country that the government gives to students that go abroad. So definitely do a bit of research on that for your specific country to see what you might be able to find. But yeah, unfortunately, from NHLStenden, it's only for international students at the moment.
Yeah. Louisa asked again if it's possible to get a part-time job with the university workout. I don't know if you worked next to your studies or you just started with your internship.
Well, in my 2 first years of studies, I didn't work at the same time, and it was quite relaxed. But then afterwards, in my the end of my second year of studies, I started a small online store where I sell jewelry. So that was a little bit my job, and then I also did a bit of work for the French team of the university to do a bit of marketing activities. But it was definitely like not an intense full-time job. But I know a lot of my classmates that did have part-time jobs and that they were able to manage the workload well. So it's really up to you, depending also maybe on your budget, on if you have jobs that you're very interested in doing as well, then there are possibilities to do so around the city. And I think you also can say maybe a bit more as well, Nele.
Yeah. I mean, I always love to be a busy bee, so that's maybe why I'm a bad example. But if you have the good time management and you are at least disciplined enough to do your workload for the university, then it's definitely doable to have a part-time job. But we always also underline that university or your studies should be your first priority, because that's why you're coming to the Netherlands, and then maybe after some time you can check out if a job is an opportunity or is working for you. Because I started in February, and yeah, within the first month I realized that I need some more workload because I still have a lot of free time and I didn't know how to fill it. So I started to work for the marketing department, which is around 10 hours per week, so that's pretty doable for me. In addition, I was part of the student council, so I was leading the event department. That was some extra work, and at some point I also joined a theater club, so a lot of stuff going on. But if you want to do a lot of stuff, there's definitely the opportunity to do so. So that's
and maybe I can maybe just add, for those of you who study hospitality, and I think also teachers education, there are internships sometimes throughout the year. So if you are thinking of getting a job, maybe there's a place to start is going to places like Recruit a Student, where you have a bit more of a flexible contract, so that if you do have internships, then your jobs won't overlap. You can just work whenever there's a job option for you, and then once the internship is done, then look for a different kind of contract. So maybe just also something to keep in mind. But there's different kinds of restaurants in the cities as well, or there's possibilities to get a part-time job, and it's a bit going to be up to you, of course, to find it based on your CV and how you sell yourself. So
I just see that Gabi is also answering a lot of questions, so I'm just skimming through. I just saw one question about example of student housings. We don't have any examples here, but again, join the study dive. We do have some recorded videos of actual student housing, so that you can kind of welcome to my crib style join and see how an actual student house is looking. We just only have the pictures for now, and for students, say for example, you can also visit the homepage, and there you get some really good insights, I'd say. Just reading.
And I think Gabi also mentioned that you can also use the chat to our students part of the website. So then, unfortunately, there's not the opportunity to send pictures yet on that platform, but you can just ask a bit more about their own experience with housing or their experiences with activities in the Netherlands. If you need a bit more details and different perspectives as well, don't hesitate to ask. I'm sure they will all be very happy to speak with you as well. So.
Someone's again asking about a Dutch language course. I think we kind of talked about it briefly, but I think you know more about it, right?
Yeah, so on campus, there's actually a language center, and you can sign up for some courses, and I think there's Dutch A1 and A2 there as well for like 1 or 2 modules, for example. But also some study programs like hospitality management have some Dutch courses included, not Dutch language courses, and then you can choose which language you want to study. I did do Dutch during my studies in the hospitality program, but it's really up to you if you do want to learn a language or not. And there's also a language cafe in the city. Of course, right now with COVID, I don't know if it's operating, but I think next year it might be back on track. And you can also go there to meet and practice talking with people in different languages. So that's also a very nice experience to make friends and also at the same time develop your skills in a language. So.
We have a question related to that. I just saw it. Is it hard to get a half-time or part-time job when you don't speak Dutch?
I would say it's not necessarily hard, but the types of jobs that you will do, of course, are going to be jobs that you can do in English. So some international restaurants, for example, take international students that don't speak Dutch, some cleaning jobs and all. But if you want to get maybe more of different office jobs, and depending on the company, it might be practical, of course, to know a little bit of Dutch. But there are some possibilities, even if you do not speak Dutch, because they're very much student cities, so there's other students like yourself that look for jobs. But maybe it's not going to be your favorite job, but if it helps you have a bit of money in your free time that you can then spend on activities that you like, then I think it's also a good experience as well, just for yourself.
Do you know, I think we kind of talked about it, but other languages that you can learn is Mandarin, French, Spanish, Dutch, I think German as well, maybe?
Yeah, German and I think Russian. Maybe some study programs also include other languages, but these are the most common ones that I have heard of at least.
Great. I just saw that Lydia is asking about some examples of partner universities. I just know the ones that I looked into because it's a huge list. We do have thousands of, feels like thousands of partner universities, but I think it's 90 plus. I will be studying at KEA University in Copenhagen. We also have a partnership with, for example, which is quite a name, London Metropolitan University, as well as the Oslo Metropolitan University, but also the Design and Media School in Stuttgart, Germany. I don't know if you know more.
Yeah, there's really in all the different countries. If you have a specific country that you know you want to go on exchange to, you can contact the international office of NHLStenden. I'll try to type for you in the chat, and you can ask them for the partner universities in that country. But there's a lot. I know that there's even a partner university in the place where I'm originally from in France. So if I wanted to, I could have even done an exchange back in my home country, but I didn't choose that option. But there's a lot of ways that you can go abroad, of course. I'll try to type the email now, but...
Arian is also asking, because he's not speaking Dutch at all, but he's fluent in English, if he will survive a day-to-day life, and I can definitely say yes. I think you agree.
Yeah. Yeah, well, French doesn't sound at all like Dutch. It's not the same structure. So when I arrived, I didn't know any Dutch. I had never heard that language in my life before. I thought it sounded a little bit like when the Sims speak. For me, it sounded very strange. And I got by without any problems. Like really, pretty much everywhere you go, there's people that speak English, and there's also a lot of students in the city. And so if you're scared to maybe talk to strangers, you can always go out with your friends. You can also go grocery shopping together, and then you will not be on your own who's not speaking Dutch. But if you are interested to learn Dutch, something that I did at the final year of my study, just because I was curious, I did Duolingo Dutch, and I'm not bilingual right now, but I definitely think it helped me understand some like day-to-day words. And so if you're curious, then you can start early with it, and it might be a good way to help you feel more confident.
Yeah, and the language courses that are offered from the Language Center are not for free. In case they are included in your study program, of course they are for free, but if you want to do it additionally, like an extra task within your free time, then you have to pay for them. I think they are around 280 per semester, right?
I have to be honest, I don't know exactly the price, but I will try to look up the website right now to send you the link, so maybe that will be easier. So I'll just look for that and be right back.
Yeah. And during that time, I will answer Louise's question again. She is asking if she can apply for 2 programs. I mean, you can add 2 programs in your StudyLink profile, but to be honest, at some point you have to decide either way. So maybe it's not making sense to sign up for 2 programs, because as we don't have any average grade that you need or something else, you will be accepted anyway, as long as you fulfill the requirements. So yeah, it's just in case you apply and you know that you fulfill the requirements, like the language requirements for English, for example, then you can be sure that you will be accepted. So if you then enter 2 study programs, you will be accepted for 2 study programs, because there's no limitations in numbers and how many students can be accepted. So then you have to decide at one point. So maybe make up your mind, and then you don't have that decision later on. But I do understand that it can be difficult. Isabel is asking how long does it takes to know that you're accepted. So as I think I can recall it correctly, but you start your application within StudyLink, and then you will upload all your documents to the IGO portal. And that always takes some time, because the Central Student Administration needs to check and approve those. After the approval of the CSA, Central Student Administration, you will get your letter of your approval, kind of that letter of acceptance. There are 2 different ones. Then you can get the first one, and after you fill in your details for payment, then you will get the final proof of enrollment. So do you know an estimate on how many weeks they have to wait for that?
Yeah, so in the beginning for StudyLink, that part I say maximum it would take 1 week. Once you handed everything in IGO, maybe it takes another 1 to 3 weeks to get your documents checked. And then for the final parts of your application, I would say again 1 to 2 weeks as well. But if it does happen to take longer or something, or a document maybe was not uploaded correctly, then the Central Student Administration will also be in touch with you to make sure to help you to finish your application on time. So yeah, sometimes it can of course be quicker, but maybe thinking that it might take longer is a good way to not be stressed, because if it does take a bit longer, then it's usually just because everything needs to be checked according to different criteria. But if there's any problem, they will make sure to let you know. They won't just give up on your application, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. And there's also no limitations in ages, because someone asked if they cannot be accepted because they are too old, I guess, but that's not the case.
No, it's really not the case. And an advantage maybe if you are older is that you already have your diplomas, and you can then upload them, because some students that are still in high school, for example, they get their diploma maybe sometimes near the application deadline or afterwards, and that makes of course the application still possible, but of course maybe a bit more stressful and complicated. I know that was the case for myself, so maybe it's a good thing as well for you if you're a bit older. You can go by a bit more smoothly in the application procedure.
I'm just seeing that a lot of people are always referring to some questions and stuff. Maybe to make it easier, just rephrase the whole question, because otherwise it's just going, including a lot of going back and forth, since we're getting a lot of questions. And I don't know about the intake interviews. Do you know if they have a huge impact on if you're being accepted or not?
I don't know if they have a huge impact, but it's more to make sure that the course you're applying to is a good fit for you, and also just to get to know you a little bit more. At the time that I applied, there was no intake interview for my study program, but I think really now that people want to make sure that what you're applying to is the course that you will have fun with, basically, because sometimes I know a few of my friends in their first year of studies that did hospitality with myself, they said, oh, I wish that I had done another course of Stenden, so maybe then through the intake interview they could have been recommended to maybe consider another course. So I think it's mainly really going to be beneficial for you. So and yeah, just to get to know you as well. And if I'm forgetting something, then I'm sure then maybe Gabby or Joke can, of course, help fill me out in the chat.
See a lot of typing, so we'll see what happens next. Can you see the questions again?
I see the last ones. I can't scroll up, so right now I don't see that many questions.
But I'm also staying at the bottom and just...
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, good luck for your high school work. And of course, if you have questions later on, you can always reach us as well on the chat to our students part of the website. So it was nice that you were able to join for a bit.
About the group size, when it comes to learning, normally for DBE you will have classes with around 25 to 30 people, and this will be guided by 1 or 2 coaches. And then you will work on your assignments or projects within smaller groups. This can be from, I'd say, 2 to 6 people. Normally, that's how big our groups were, and I think that's normally within the other study programs as well.
I see a question about an application in 2022, but unfortunately, since I cannot scroll up, could you maybe copy paste the question for me again so that I can see the full question? But if you do start your application in December, I don't think you get the results in a week for your complete application, because as I mentioned, it takes at least 1 to 3 weeks just to get your documents checked. And then there's also the study link part for some study programs and intake interview. But I do think then you can...
But I think the question is more if there's like a fixed date when everyone gets their acceptance, but that's not the case. So as soon as you've fulfilled all your to-dos in the study link portal, then you will, after 1 or 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, get your final approval. So that's not depending on the final deadline day in June or something.
Yeah. Then for a question about starting in September, I had a talk with some of my colleagues. I think the first day of September of the start of the studies is actually 30 August. It's the first Monday before September starts. I don't have my calendar open right now, and of course it would be best if you are able to come to the campus, because it is expected right now to have the majority of your classes on campus. But if maybe there's a really specific reason why you're not able to come, you can always contact your study program coordinator to discuss your personal situation and see if there might be a possibility for you to have maybe the first week of your classes away. So definitely, if you have an issue with that, then you can contact your study program.
Getting a lot of thank yous. People are leaving.
Oh, a question about, yes, if the webinar will finish. Well, it's whenever you're done with your questions, but yeah, when there will be a few less questions, most likely we will switch our cameras off, answer the final ones, and then maybe at 3:30 or something, then we can close it off. But if you have your questions, definitely don't hesitate to ask them to us now, because we're here to help.
If we start a program and find out we don't like it that much, can we switch?
I mean, there are some possibilities, of course, but if you do notice it right away when you arrive, then it's best to mention it right away so that you don't have any classes you need to catch up. Because if you do wait, then it might be more difficult because then you have to catch up the classes that you were not able to do. But that's also why we try to have the intake interview and recommend that you join these webinars, the study dive event, and all these things so that you really ask your questions and see which study program you enjoy most and which one you think you will have the most fun in. So hopefully this can help you make your decision prior to coming as well.
And again, join the study dive. Hopefully that helps.
A question, how far is Leeuwarden from the campus? Oh, for the soccer clubs. Well, Leeuwarden, I don't know exactly which soccer club, but Leeuwarden is quite accessible, I would say, for most activities. You can usually, in 7 to 10 minutes by bike, probably go from one place to another. Yeah, I expect most likely that the football club will also not be that far from campus, maybe 7 to 10 minutes as well. But once you do find one that you like, you can also check on Google Maps the walking distance between the different locations.
Now, Louisa and Francisca are talking about that they cannot decide which study programs they want to do. Maybe you can give us a hint with what study programs you're considering, and then we can give you some insights. But if you cannot join the study dive, there is a full-on environment where we will have a lot of recorded content that you can access, and of course, feel free to chat with the students via the homepage. So maybe that helps.
Yes, and there's also other events. Of course, it would be great if you can join the study dive, but then also maybe have a look at the other events that will be organized to see if you can also join one of those instead. But yeah, we hope to see you there, even if it's just for a small time. Of course, I think it will be very fun because it's also the first time we're doing this event, so you will be the first to experience it. So, yeah.
The work chances after studying. I think I briefly mentioned it already, and as far as I know, and from the people that I know or met, the work chances are very good because you have your final internship, and most of the companies are happy to keep you. Maybe you have different information about that.
Yeah, no, what you said is definitely true because most of my friends are right now doing their internships and they're all going to be continuing their work in the company they did their internship in. It's not, of course, an obligation, but they did like their internship, so I think it's a good choice. Yeah, I think I don't know if the numbers are still the same, but when I was applying to NHLStenden, one of the things that did attract me to the hotel management program, and I think for other programs as well, was that the employability after graduation is like, I don't know, maybe 85% of students get a job within 1 month after graduation. Of course, some of them prefer to do a master's study and all, but a lot of the students are very employable. And also a lot of the industries that are offered at NHLStenden, like hospitality industry, teacher education, and so on, are industries that also need a lot of people to come work there. So there's a lot of job options for you in those industries as well.
There was one question about if you applied and want to leave school and already pay, do you get the money back?
I think Yoka might be able to help us answer that one more in depth, but I do think that you are able to get a part of your money back. So the modules where you were studying, you probably don't get that money back, but maybe for the next ones where you were supposed to study and then you quit, then I imagine that you can get some of the money back as well. But Yoko, of course, is more experienced to answer this question as well from European, non-European. I don't know if there's a difference.
And when will you have your last exams this year? I don't think you have some, right?
For myself, no, but I know that in general it was like the last week of June, for me at least. I don't know if it's the same for you this year.
I decided to finish early this semester, so today was my deadline day.
Yeah,
but normally, yeah, it's end of June.
Oops, sorry.
So yeah, end of June is the final test week. And you have July and August off, which is quite nice. And then you can have a fresh start in September. What do you exactly mean by elective courses? Because Is someone asked?
Let me see if I find that question as well. I don't know if you mean elective activity courses, but those are free as well. But if you choose to do, for example, an additional module or an additional minor, then you will need to pay the tuition fees for the time that you are spending extra studying. You don't have to necessarily pay the course in that case, but just the tuition fee for the month that you will be studying. I hope that was the question, but if we got it wrong, feel free to let us know.
Oh no, it's about the elective courses within the program. There you don't have to pay anything extra. That's included.
Yeah.
That's all part of your studies. See some more typing.
No, that's actually a pretty good question. I don't know. My study start week was a bit longer ago, so I'm imagining that it most likely changed. But I wouldn't say too much because I think it's a good idea that when you do arrive at the study start week, you don't have high expectations and you really enjoy the experience. But to summarize it, I would say you meet a lot of people, you visit different places in the city, and then you also have a few parties with your classmates basically, and also different study programs. It's a fun event, I would say, to definitely join. But I think it's best to kind of have it as a surprise as well.
The study start week. Yeah,
if you had something to add.
No, I was just talking about if it's free. You normally have to pay a fixed amount for the week, but that's mostly because you will have some additional programs. So you will go out for dinner, you will have drinks in a bar, you will have a pub crawl, some extra parties where you don't have to pay the entrance then. So all those things are included in the price. Maybe some boat tours, some day trips. So it's a lot of fun activities. I cannot tell what they are planning for this year. But you have to pay for that. You will also get a t-shirt according to your study program and all that. But that's just for the fun part, the food and the drinks. So I think it's worth
and
it.
you can have a look at the Study Start Week website as well to see more information as soon as it's available, so that for your specific study program you know a bit more what to expect. So yeah, keep an eye on that, and you will also get an email about it as well when you are enrolled. So. And I don't think that it is limited, but you do have to sign up for it before a specific deadline so that they can, of course, plan how many people will be present for the different activities. So when you do have the email about it, definitely don't forget about it and then forget to sign up. Try to do it soon so that you make sure you do it on time. I don't think there's that many questions left, so I think maybe soon we will most likely switch off our cameras and just stay a little bit more in the chat. But yeah, it was very nice for us that there were that many questions during the webinar. It kept us quite busy, so thanks for all of you for asking your question. I think maybe after a few maybe last words from Nele, we can just switch off our cameras. Or
Yeah, we have just one specific German question from Franziska. She's more or less asking if there's a lot of rivalry at university or if people are supportive and helping each other. And I'd say, at least from my experience, especially within creative business, it's a very open community and everyone's eager and willing to help because it's most of the times a group project, so it's a group success as well. And if you ever see someone struggling, or you realize someone has maybe health or mental issues, there's normally always another student or even your coach coming by and asking how you can support and trying to get you through the module somehow. So I never experienced anything negative in that way. So there's no Ellenbogengesellschaft.
Yeah, and also in your classes, you always ask questions and have a lot of conversations with everyone. So it's not really an environment where people don't feel comfortable. And so I think that helps to not make it rivals, but more a bit of a collaborative environment And instead of like competing with one another, I think you learn from one another, so that's also quite nice.
You share your sources and your books and whatever you have.
Yes, you're all in this together, and when the deadlines are coming and you're all stressed, you will all suffer together. But so then, yeah, you're not alone, definitely.
No. But yeah, I guess that's it for now.
Yeah, I guess thanks everyone for joining. I think I will switch off my camera now, but yeah, if you still have questions, I'll still be in the chat. So yeah, and maybe we see all of you in the study dive and upcoming events then.
Have a good day, and thanks for
Bye.
being here.